Hey guys, welcome back to Beautifully Unbroken. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about prayer. I polled Facebook a while back asking you guys what you were most interested in learning about, and I was really surprised by the number of people who were interested in learning more about prayer because they felt they didn't truly understand it. So this will be a short 3-part series on prayer, followed up with more in-depth study on it that you'll be able to download directly off of the Beautifully Unbroken Facebook page. At the end of this study on prayer, I'll be giving away a prayer journal to one person who has interacted in some way with our study through either commenting or sharing some of the posts. So today we're just going to do Prayer 101 and just talk about the basics of prayer. In its simplest form, prayer is just communication with God or addressing God directly. In the Bible, you'll see it referred to as many different things, including supplication, petition, entreaty, and even hymns and lament. Biblical examples of prayer portray God as a God who listens and not a deity that is distant or has to be begged into being concerned about the affairs of humanity. As a relational being, God desires to hear from us. In the church, you'll often hear people pray in many different ways. I find that those who have been in the church their entire lives or who came from Christian families often have kind of formulated methods of prayer. On the other hand, those who entered into their faith a little later in life tend to speak a little more freely with God because they didn't have anyone to learn from. Both sides tend to be self-conscious about how they pray, but it literally doesn't matter. God listens to your prayers either way. They don't have to be fancy or well put together. In 1 Samuel in the book of Acts, David is described as a man after God's own heart. What was the secret to David's greatness? Part of that formula is prayer. When David penned Psalm 109, he was facing intense persecution, yet at the end he writes, "But I am a man of prayer." When C.H. Spurgeon looked at the biblical Hebrew in context, he came to the conclusion that David is saying, "I became prayer." That's because prayer is incredibly important. We can't ignore friends and family, never speak to them or spend time with them, and expect our relationship with them to flourish, and it's the same way with God. We have to spend time speaking with Him for that relationship to build. So how do we get started? How do we become prayer as David did? First of all, be you and just talk. You have a God-given personality and God doesn't want you to stifle that when having a conversation with Him. Be yourself in front of the Lord. You don't need to be something you're not. God sees through that anyway. You wouldn't want to be fake with your friends. Don't be fake with God. Secondly, pray without ceasing, like Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians. Now, I recently set up a prayer room in my house where I can go for quiet time to pray and worship. And if you have a place for that, I highly recommend it, but not everybody does. However, my prayers don't stop when I leave my prayer room. I pray while I'm folding laundry, making dinner, feeding my animals, and I especially love to pray while I'm driving. C.H. Spurgeon said that while your hands are busy with the world, let your hearts still talk with God. There are everyday things that we have to take care of, but we can still be talking to God. Thirdly, don't forget to include both praise and confession in your prayers. I love starting out my prayers with immense thanksgiving to our awesome God. He is so worthy of our praise, and He forgives us of any wrongdoings. The model prayer in Matthew 6:9-13 breaks down to the ACTS acronym. We start with adoration, followed by confession, thanksgiving, and finally supplication. Finally, pray in many different ways. Praise with your eyes open, closed, on your face, or standing with your hands raised high. I like to write my prayers so I can go back over them. Martin Luther loved to pray scripture, so you can even try that. The overarching point of prayer is to be in relationship with God and to see Him work in your life and the lives of those you intercede for when He responds to your requests. Prayer is our greatest spiritual weapon. Getting in the habit of praying daily and without ceasing doesn't come easily, but it's totally worth it. If you can learn to develop your prayer life, you can watch your life and the lives of those around you change. Prayer is so incredibly important. Prayer is our greatest spiritual weapon. Getting in the habit of praying daily and without ceasing, it doesn't come easily, but it's completely worth it. If you can learn to develop your prayer life, you can watch your life change. None of this, oh, well, all I can do now is pray. No, you need to be going to prayer first. And by knowing the basics, you're able to do that. That's it for our first video, guys. Be looking for the other two. We're going to step it up a notch and learn more about prayer in the next one. I'm wishing you guys all God's love and smiles, and I will see you later.